Episode of Realm of the Possible by Kilroy. How are you today?
Doing well. Yourself, man?
Yeah, it's fun to pretend like we haven't actually spoken for an hour.
10 minutes.
Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Apple Foundation models, and we're going to show folks Kilroy agents. I have got to fix this camera stability. Kilroy agents pipelines integrated with Telegram and Mac shortcuts. Is that correct, sir?
Yep. Gonna put Mac OS to work today.
And we're going to show them how to build, how to integrate, and some functionality, but basically how the pipeline builder works. And if you are interested in playing with Kilroy and you don't mind getting your hands a little bit dirty, getting things set up, we would love to have you join us. Technical people, developers, non-technical people that have a little experience with software, we would love for you to join us as we build out functions for the system. If you're a developer...
I think we're going to start doing some build along, sort of some Bob Ross painting style stuff. Build your Kilroy pipelines along with Brad and Chuck.
Exactly. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. If you're a developer, we're looking for developers to participate in integrating your favorite DeFi protocols as well as other modules for the system. Your skill set can encompass all kinds of things. So DM me on Farcaster on Twitter, Telegram, B05 Crypto, Farcaster, B05, Twitter, B05 Crypto. Chuck is C Shotton, CSHOTTON on everything. So we would love to connect with you. All right, Chuck. So this week I was I installed this handy dandy. Here, I'll go ahead and share this. I can share this. My shaking camera.
So while you're fumbling around, this is going to be the Apple Foundation model, right?
Correct. So we, this is interesting. Our streaming thing does not show that window, that little, there it is. Okay. So we wanted to test out the Apple Foundation model. Can you see the screen, Chuck?
Yep, it's up.
So this is an LLM, 3 billion parameter LLM that's built into Mac OS. And fairly capable from the demos that Apple has been doing in their developer channel. Very fast and, freely available for anybody that's on a Mac or an iPad or iOS to be able to utilize the model. And so I was really anxious to give it a shot. You and I built out that little plans app that we showed last week that allows us to record what plans we're working on and keep track of them, et cetera, in Kilroy and in an AI chat window. And so I was excited to try out the foundation model. So I installed this little app that lets you configure and make it work with the OpenAI compatible endpoints. So just like if you were using a Llama to infer LLMs on your desktop, this allows you to connect to the Apple Foundation model and interact with it like you would any other ChatGPT-like model. So I was excited. It worked. I got it connected up. Everything worked. And then we ran into a little bit of an issue. So it's Apple's extreme cover your ass safety guardrails on their foundation model. They have made it next to impossible to do anything except system related stuff or writing code. It did write code very rapidly. I did a couple of little Vibe apps in our Vibe module and our pipeline, and it worked really well for that. But if you want to just interact with it, send it your plans for the day that you're going to serve up so your business partner can look at them. Sometimes it'll work, but most of the time Apple says, I am an ethical LLM. I am not permitted to answer questions like this. Now,
this was the question, right? it was like choking on the slash commands, right? Like the slash set
It,
or the
well,
slash
it was
play.
choking on the slash commands, and then I tested it without the slash commands in our little AI chat
Yeah.
pipeline, LLM, and it rejected just innocuous tasks like set up Trello board for biz dev. Like, nope, can't do it. Unethical. I'm
It
not
didn't
helping you with that.
understand. It didn't have enough context to realize that you're just making a list. You're not actually asking it to try to do stuff.
Yeah. And just this idea that it's blocking it as a safety issue is just ridiculous. It could just say, I don't know what you mean, right? Like any other
Well,
LLM would if you just
let's
posted
put
that
this in
shit in.
context, right? Because we've been building to the Llama 3 thing for forever, and I have to say I was a little gratified by that news article or those benchmarks that you found
Yeah.
last week, because they basically vindicated the fact that, hey, that's the least hallucinating, most sensible small model that's still out there, and it's what, a year and a half old now.
Yeah, man. It's like 400 years old in AI time. So that's, you are definitely the retro LLM dude.
So the goal was to
And
try to
that's it.
find
Go ahead.
some stuff on the goal was to try to find some stuff on people's desktops that was already there, so they didn't have to install stuff, didn't have to run Olama, didn't have to
Right.
get
I mean,
smart.
and that's the power of what Apple has, right? All of these devices have GPUs, all the newer ones since the M1. The iPads have it, the iPhones have it. They all have the ability to process on device with these LLMs. This is a fast, integrated LLM built in, and it fits our philosophy perfectly with Kilroy, which is you don't need monolithic prompts, gigantic prompts to tell an agent how to function. You can break and have the agent break tasks into small context, small prompts, so that it will be more efficient with models like Llama 3 and or the Apple Foundation model.
Well, so here's an interesting thing to me about this, and I think this is where there's going to be a huge divergence in the industry real soon. You know, you've got all these companies like OpenAI and Meta and Google who are building these giant end user, human focused chatbots, right? I mean, that's really at the end of the day, that's what they're doing. You want to be my therapist, you want to be my homework mentor, you want to be my, sidecar code buddy, whatever. They're making it be, a one size fits all Swiss Army knife. And what Apple's done is said, you know what, we really need the natural language processing and the ability to understand context for system related stuff. And that pushes the LLM down into the realm of being operating system software, not application software, right? And all these other companies that are doing these giant monolithic cloud LLMs are all thinking, this is going to be the be all end all, one app to rule them all kind of environment, where Apple's kind of taken the other tack, which is, let's break it down into little pieces that it can do capably with the OS functions that we've already got. And I got to tell you, man, from painful personal experience, what Apple does at this point in the market is probably not wrong. And they did it to me back in 1997, where we had a really successful commercial web server product. It was really popular, WebStar and its predecessor, Mac HTTP. And, we had like 95% market share. And then one day Apple shipped a version of the OS with web serving baked in.
And killed your business in about 10 seconds.
Right. And they are going to do that at least some level of the LLM world. There's no reason for these things to be monolithic, standalone, external from your system applications. They should be operating system software. That's where they're going to end up.
Yep. Well, it's going to be interesting because, frankly, I think that once we've done a lot more of this macOS shortcuts work and integration work, that it's going to be really interesting to see how Apple reacts to what Kilroy's capable of doing with macOS that they are not doing.
It's funny because, you'd like to be able to talk to Siri and have Siri act like a front end to an LLM and then go do some system level stuff. Well, it's not doing that right now. It's not even doing that in their betas. But if you skip past the fact that it's really hard to talk to your Mac and have it go to Siri, and just end up with the text that you want. It's real easy to tell Siri to run shortcuts, and it's real easy for shortcuts to talk to Kilroy, and it's real easy for Kilroy to use its LLMs to go do all the stuff that Siri can't do, including talking back into the OS. So maybe rather than talk about it, let's show a little bit of it and see, show people how it works in one direction, and we'll do the other direction a little bit later.
Sweet segue there, Bo.
Right. All right. So I'm going to share
nice.
I'm going to share my whole screen. So I apologize if you got to squint to see the text. You're going to have to zoom it up on your screen.
Oh, one more thing while you're doing that. Apple announced this week that they already have a deal with OpenAI, not OpenAI,
Google.
and utilizing ChatGPT with users. But they also are now signing a deal with Google to do Gemini with Siri. To the tune of $1 billion, which to me, I mean, I know it's a stopgap measure for them because eventually they'll dump both of those, but I feel like they already have all the pieces, and I guess we'll just have to show them they do, and we can do it for them. So,
well, hopefully they like it.
Yep.
So, all right. So here's what we've got. We've got Kilroy running on the desktop down here in the corner as a little background application, and we've got our old buddy Olama running in the terminal window over here on the left, running Llama 3. And then this is the Apple Shortcuts app back here that we're going to look at in a minute. So what we wanted to do is do some nice tight integration between a native Mac OS application and Kilroy. And so what we decided that we would do is kind of a standard little pipeline that other people have done, but it requires a lot more moving parts. And I don't think most people can set it up. And that is a URL clipping service, web page summary service, all built into your desktop. So the premise is that you would go to a web page. I'm going to use Ars Technica as the guinea pig today. And we'll pick one of these articles and say, hey, I want to share that with Brad in our shared Telegram group. So what I'd like to be able to do is just be on the page, click a button, have that page go off through the shortcuts infrastructure to Kilroy, where Kilroy can ask Llama 3 to summarize the text, pull out the URL, and push that over into Telegram for us. So that's going to be what we build. And so let's just start with a new pipeline. And I'm going to cheat a little bit because some of this stuff I don't want to throw up on public screen, things like my Telegram bot ID and stuff. So I'm going to start with the idea that Kilroy already has built into it a way for outside world applications to talk to it into its swarms. And if you look in the AI application that we have in this wonderful little piece of user interface, you can say, hey, Kilroy, listen for messages from other people on a particular webhook, this listener webhook. And I'll show you the URL for that in a second. And then take everything that you get from that webhook in the payload of the web request and jam it over into this swarm called listener swarm. Any Kilroy pipeline that's listening to that swarm is going to get that input from the outside world. So let's start with making that swarm inside of the pipeline editor. We'll just drag this over, and it was called listener swarm. And it needs to be a public swarm, right? So that everybody that needs to can talk to it. Now, normally this would be a more private name than listener swarm, but there it is.
For now, that's great. And so the idea is with making it a public swarm is so that other pipelines and swarms can connect to it and utilize resources back and forth, right, by name.
Okay, so the goal is going to be to have the shortcut come to Kilroy with a web request and then push that data into the swarm. Something's going to have to pull it out. So let's get an AI agent blob from over here and put it in. And this one's going to have a particular system prompt because we know what we're going to get from shortcut is going to be a blob of JSON. And we're going to want to do some stuff with the pieces of that JSON. So let's look at how it's getting here, right? So in the Apple OS is something that a lot of people probably don't even know about or even use. They may use it more on their phones than they do on their desktop, but it's the Apple Shortcuts application, and you can see all the shortcuts that you have if you pop open window and look through all the ones that you've built. And I've got a bunch that I've built to play with. And there's this one in particular that we have that's called Browser Clip. Browser Clip has these 5 steps in it, right? It says, get the current, when this thing is invoked, right? And we'll talk about how that happens in a minute. Get the current web page that's showing in Safari, right? We're going to use that Ars Technica page back there in a second. And after you get that page, get the contents off the page. Now, this is a really important feature of shortcuts in Safari. Most of the time when you go to a URL on a website, what you get is a blob of JavaScript that then proceeds to go back to the website and pull down article pieces and style sheets and whatever else is needed to draw the display on the screen. And you don't get meaningful content. That's loaded after the fact. But what this lets you do is after Safari has already pulled down the page and rendered it and is showing it to you as a user, then it can run through its own internal storage and pull out the actual content of the page. So that's what we're doing here. And we also want to get the URL of the current web page. So
real quick, I want to make a point, Chuck. Sorry.
Yeah.
So this is something that normally people would either have to use a tool call or in via the LLM that supports it, or some kind of MCP server to be able to access a browser that's running somewhere else or on your machine to do this process. What this does, what this kind of integration with things like Mac OS shortcuts does, is it allows us to utilize the functions of the user's desktop in Kilroy and be able to pull out text, because Safari probably pulls and uses Reader to pull out the text without having to install additional servers for interacting and utilizing LLMs with browser, with Windows, with text, with information.
So, right. So what we're going to do with the contents that we just got and the URL that we just got is we're going to turn that into a JSON object. Now in Apple's,
can you zoom a little on that, Chuck? Sorry,
I don't think I can, because this is Apple's UI. This is a dictionary, right? A key value store, but Apple has the ability to present that as JSON, right? So you make a dictionary and we have a URL value, which is going to be the page URL that we got from the previous step, and a data value, which is going to be the page content that we got from the previous step. And we're going to use the other shortcut step, which is get contents of a URL, to call Kilroy with that JSON object that we just created. So it's a little bit esoteric, but once you have this done, you never have to do it again, right? So we're saying talk to Kilroy localhost on port 3000, call the endpoint for calling webhooks inside of Kilroy, and call the webhook called kilroy.ai.webhooks listener. That's the thing that we configured over here where we said turn on the listening webhook. That's the actual path to that thing. And so that's going to pass that JSON into Kilroy. Kilroy is going to get that JSON object. It's going to turn it around, format it correctly as a message for an AI pipeline, and put it into the swarm for the other agents in the swarm to operate on. And that's the end of what the shortcut does. So in Mac OS, there's a lot of ways to invoke shortcuts. You can have keyboard commands, you can have menu choices, you can have services in the service menu. And one of the ways that you can invoke it, and this is how Kilroy talks to shortcuts, is with a URL that's a deep linking URL that starts with a shortcut : // URL. And if we looked at this, you'll never see it, but this is the shortcuts : run shortcut. The name is Browser Clip. That's the name of our shortcut. And then it's just going to fire that thing off, and it's going to do its job, which is to talk back to Safari and then talk to Kilroy. So let's finish making our pipeline. And for expedience sake, I think I'm just going to take the one that I already have up and running over here, rather than build it again from scratch, piece by piece. We're going to end up with one that looks like this, right? So we've got the listener swarm feeding its messages from the Mac OS into the agent. The agent's going to do some work on that and put it into a swarm that's going to go out to Telegram, right? This is a Telegram agent that's configured to talk to a specific channel in Telegram and as a specific bot user. And it's going to take what this agent makes and show it in the shared chat between Brad and myself. So just for completeness, let's look at how this agent is set up. the system prompt is all of your output should be markdown format as supported by Telegram. Only output the raw markdown. Do not add explanations or introductions, right? That's the system prompt. There's no context being kept. So every single transaction with this agent is a new one, and it's going to be a JSON object. So we've got a prompt prefix for every single message that comes in that says, extract the URL field from the following JSON and output it as a link in a small markdown heading. Extract the data field from the JSON, summarize it, and output a single markdown paragraph. Do not add any introductions or explanations, just output raw markdown text. Now, to the extent that Llama 3 can follow instructions, it's basically going to take that JSON object, pull out the URL, make a title out of it, pull out the body of the article, summarize it, and put it out as a paragraph, and then send that all to Telegram, right? So if I export this guy, and we go over here and build that pipeline, we should get a couple of boxes on the screen. Right. And these are just for us to watch for debugging purposes, because the normal way that you would use this pipeline is I'm looking at a web page. Oh, let's go look at Ford says no exact date for F-150 Lightning. Let me get Telegram over here so we can see Telegram work too. This is going to be a challenge to tile the screen up here. All right. So Shortcuts is going to pop up over top of all of this when I hit go real quick, but you'll see the message show up in here in Telegram in a second. I'll scroll it over so we can see. All right, here we go. So I'm reading this article. Hey, Brad would really like to know about this electric truck thing. He's in the market for electric truck. Let me just hit Kilroy web clip and allow it, and off it goes. It's running the shortcut right now. The LLM, if we switched over to Kilroy, was doing its work there. And in just a second, it's going to pop over the message here into Telegram. So as an end user, I would normally just click on the link in the browser, click on the button, and in a few seconds, here's my summary posted to Telegram that has my headline as a clickable link and the summary that the LLM made out of the whole big article. And then Telegram does this little instant summary where I can look at it in line with Telegram instead of having to go off to a browser. That makes sense, Brad?
Totally. I love that, man. I absolutely love that. And the beauty of this thing is that this can be bidirectional. You can be sharing stuff into Telegram or interacting with the LLM into Telegram and controlling what Kilroy is doing. You could theoretically operate your entire life from Telegram and have it in the background processing and doing things on your Mac or your other computer if with another model for this. And never leave Telegram. So you could even be like a command line junkie, but in Telegram where you're controlling and interacting. Like, I mean, if you think about the things that LLMs are bad at, right? Like what's one of the things that comes to mind right away when you think about what LLMs suck at?
I don't know. Pick one. Math.
So theoretically, you could be utilizing this with the calls to the calculator capabilities on the Mac. Or you could be using numbers on Mac OS.
I've made an agent that sits in the background and gets the Bitcoin price every 5 minutes and sticks it into a numbers spreadsheet and graphs it out, right?
Right. And then you could have the LLM.
Right.
Yeah. And then you could have the LLM that's been trained on financial data, analyze the market conditions at any time based on the prices that have come in over time.
Or somebody's putting buy sell signals into your swarm that you share, and then you can use that to go compare against your, mean reversion algorithm that's off in your spreadsheet and decide whether or not it's really time to buy or not. So what we just showed was going from the Mac OS world into Kilroy and then back out into sort of a different world into Telegram that didn't involve Mac OS. One of the things that you can show, and we did that by making this webhook call into Kilroy. We'll go the other direction. Maybe the LLM goes and decides, for a while I had a light on my desk that I would turn the light bulb green when Bitcoin was up and turn it red when it was down. And so all day long I'm watching, Christmas show over here on the wall as the light toggles between green and red. But that was an example of Kilroy asking Mac OS to use the home automation functionality in Mac OS to set the color of the light bulb, right? So It's just as easy for Kilroy to talk out to Shortcuts as it is for Shortcuts to talk into Kilroy. And there's a block that's built to do that, which is the opener block, which we talked about a little bit last time. And if you look at what it does, it really is just calling the shortcuts URL that we talked about. And it uses a function inside of Kilroy that's able to send deep links into the local OS. So on Windows, this could be, running a different automation environment. On Linux, it could be invoking shell scripts, whatever it is that you want to tie in with the deep links that are supported by the operating system. So it's completely bidirectional, which means that Kilroy could invoke Siri to do things, Siri can invoke Kilroy to do things, and the end result is that you've basically extended all the functions that you could do with Siri and other automations on your Mac to include all the stuff that Kilroy can do with DeFi and blockchain and integrations with exchanges and outside services like Telegram or WhatsApp or whatever else you have tied in.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that this gives Apple an agentic operating system into the Mac OS operating system, right? And so,
well, don't tell them, but it also does it probably for Windows and Linux.
Well, yeah, of course, it'll do the same thing for all of those operating systems. But the beauty of this is that you can unleash all kinds of power with the computer and capabilities you already have, and you don't have to pay ChatGPT or OpenAI or Anthropic or anybody else for your AI processing capabilities. And if you need more powerful, beefier LLMs for some task, the swarms in the network will allow people to share GPU and LLM resources with you seamlessly, right? So you may have those resources and then you want to make money on them. Well, you'll be able to do that through transactions within Kilroy. So lots of opportunities here. And we have a guest on the show.
Maple, you know how she is, Brad. She hears your voice and she decides it's time to go outside. So,
well, at least this time she just wants to see you. That's it. So that's fantastic, Chuck. Anything else you want to cover?
No, man. I think we did it, and we got it done in 30 minutes again. Yay!
That was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Nicely done, nicely done. All right, folks. C Shotton, CSHOTTON on any network that you may be on. B05 on Farcaster for me. B05 Crypto on Telegram and Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. We love your ideas. We'd love to work with you. We'd love to integrate your protocol with our platform. And we're looking for people to help us test and build and grow the ecosystem. So please reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome.
All right.
See you next time, Brad.
Later, folks. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.